Plays, and this week we are looking at an upcoming game called Inscryption, which is a roguelite card-based horror game. And it's got some really interesting stylistic choices that make it one to look out for. So let's jump in. Hit this ominous looking play button. Now today we are working with the demo build, which has, I believe, 1 and a bit campaigns, and the full game will have lots more to do with it. But at the moment we can see all the mechanics at play, and it's already shaping up to be pretty interesting. We'll grab the continue and give this a go. And the premise of this game is really similar to something like Hand of Fate. You play as a person playing a game against this kind of terrifying, strange figure. So another challenger. It's been ages. Perhaps you've forgotten how this game is played. Allow me to remind you. Starts with this neat tutorial. I find that this is one of the more simple card games that you can look at in the roguelite genre. You get this play area with 4 of your cards and 4 of your opponent's cards, and the first card we can play is the squirrel. Everything is kind of animal based in this game. Go back and we can play the stoat, which requires a blood sacrifice. We've got to get rid of our sad squirrel and replace it with the stoat. And now we've got some animals on board. We also have 2 wolf cards, but you can see with the 2 blood tokens, we can't play them just yet. And we hit the bell to end our turn. Now, the mechanics on this game are very similar to Hearthstone or Magic the Gathering or Legends of Runeterra, that kind of design, where the left number is the attack and the right number is the health. And what happens is whenever you end the turn, your animals attack automatically. What's interesting about Inscryption is that your health is actually on a balance. So you lose the game if your enemy does a lot more damage to you compared to how much you do to them. And this means that you can play aggressively or defensively, and it just tips the scale. You don't have a health bar or anything like that. So now the opponent plays their coyote, it attacks automatically, and you can see that it's dealt its 2 damage. And another interesting thing too is the resources of the game. There's 2 decks to draw from. There's your cards, and then there's this pile of squirrels. And squirrels are free creatures that have no real purpose other than to be sacrificed to play your larger cards. We can draw our own card and find how reckless of you. It's a river snapper, but you require 2 blood to play it. And we've only got 1, we've only got our stoat, so we can't really do anything except end the turn and watch our stoat whack the opponent's coyote. And this is the quick tutorial, so they're not going to do anything to us. We've run out of cards, so we can't draw anymore. We can only take squirrels. We can play our squirrels and end the turn. The first time I played this, I sacrificed the stoat, and it had some stern words to me, so I'm not going to do it again this time. Instead, I'll play my 2 squirrels. I will sacrifice both to play the wolf. And you can put it on any column, it doesn't really matter. So you can choose to place your creatures on a column where your opponent has cards, or otherwise where they have no defenses. And that's the basic rules of this game. It's very simple. It's definitely not something as complex as Magic or Hearthstone. I think the card game is good to use as a baseline for the kind of narrative that Inscryption is going for. So we get this map that reminds me a lot of Slay the Spire. They tell us a story of who we are and where we're going, and each of these little quests is going to help us change our deck in some way. So we were lost deep in the forest, a single path revealed itself, and we can move ahead. Now these little tiles let us pick a card to add to our deck, and I think of this game as much more of a caravan style game than a deck builder. You'll think about adding creatures to your deck, and that'll change the way that you play. First one is the adder. So it has this ability with the skull. As long as it deals damage to anything, then the thing dealt damage to will die. It's kind of like Death Touch in Magic. Or the cat. You can sacrifice it an infinite amount of times and it will not die. Now, I've tried the cat on my first run, and it actually wasn't that good because it doesn't do anything other than let you sacrifice for it, and it costs a blood, which I didn't realize. So I'm going to pick the adder. and this gets added to our deck. It means that we can randomly draw it going ahead, and we can use it in combat. Let's go further. We have an abandoned sack. And there's all these items that you can use as well. This one's a squirrel in a bottle, so you can just add a squirrel card to your hand. This one's flyers. Don't think about this too much, but you can use this to hurt your opponents. And this as much as you can carry. This game is kind of horror themes, if you haven't noticed already, so it's got all these themes of sacrifices and crime, like spiritual crime, so it definitely does go for that atmosphere. We've been ambushed, so we've got this terrain here. One of my favorite characters is the Stoat card. He talks to you, and he starts judging you based on how you play. We see the mechanics too, is that very similar to Slay the Spire, we see what cards the opponent is about to play. We know that they're going to play a wolf cub here and start hitting this boulder, and we can plan around that. Meanwhile, we've got these two stumps which prevent us from attacking straight at our opponents, and we can put something there to get the party started. Every turn, or every game, you start with a free squirrel and 3 cards from your main deck. So the Stoat's going to be very useful because you can always play it on turn 1. Let's end the turn. Get some damage in. Wolf Cub comes down. This one is going to evolve into a wolf after a turn. So always good to be careful of that. We will draw. Do we sacrifice the... Yeah, we do. So what the opponent's going to play next is a bat. This one is flying. It goes over whatever creature is in front of it. I'm going to grab a squirrel, put it on the field, and then sack... Ooh, actually... Do I want to do that? Yeah, No, I don't want to do that. I don't want to sack anything. I just want to hit with the Stoat, because I realized that we're actually not going to do any more damage anyway. Was it not clear? You can play a squirrel and also sacrifice it at the same time. I'm being judged right now. I'm playing strategically correctly. So this bat has flying. It'll go right over the Stoat and deal damage to my face. But joke's on the opponent, because we can now play another squirrel, sacrifice both of them, to play the adder. I don't know if this adder will kill the stump with its death touch, I'm not too sure. But this Stoat will deal 2 damage to the bat and get rid of it. Oh, it really does. Okay, now that that wolf has hit past the defenses, they can hit us for life as well. Let me see. We need 2 blood for that. Let's just keep going. Now, because he's doing 3 damage in 1 turn and we're only doing 2, that means that he's eventually going to win the game if we don't do anything about it. I'll play another squirrel. Unfortunately, very sad, I need to sacrifice this Stoat. Play my wolf where this is, so it'll hit it. And now we've taken the lead again. Opponent's not going to play any more cards, so we can just wait this out. And yeah, you can play as many cards as you want per turn. I can play the squirrel, and then I can play the river snapper right after it. But that should be the win. We prevailed and trekked onwards past the now bloody terrain. We get more cards added to our deck now. Got the choice of the wolf cub, which we've already learned how that works, or the sparrow, which is a cheap flying creature. We'll pick the sparrow this time. I find that flying, at least in the beginning of this game, seems to be quite good. And now we get to the sacrificial altar. There's going to be some strange stones here. You can choose a card that's going to be lost forever. I'm going to pick the adder. And then you pick a card that's going to be the host. I love that the Stoat's just saying, pick me. Okay, we're going to pick the Stoat. And these two get fused together now. Which means we've added the death touch symbol to our Stoat. And this seems to be a recurring theme of this game, is that you can start building up your cards, you can combine them together. You can make cards that represent your personality and your playstyle in some way, so you grow more attached and, I'm guessing, more sad when they die. We've got a canine totem, So all the canine cards now have the airborne sigil for the opponent. This is something like a boss battle. Yep, so this is something like a boss battle. We can see the red tone says it's going to be a really hard fight. He's going to play a coyote, which has flying, and a bat, which also has flying. We're going to be hit for 4 next turn unless we do something about it. And we can't really get onto the board very easily. We can only play the squirrel and the stoat. And we've not really got anything for the next few turns. Coyote's got flight, so we get hit for 4. We have to draw a squirrel. Can't really do anything with it. But at least we clear the coyote. And we lose. I don't actually know if it's possible to win that one. But it says, use this as a learning opportunity, maybe the only way to mitigate my disappointment. Get up. Get up from the table. This is the cool thing that this game does, is you can actually move around this room. And I've been told that this game in its final build will have escape room-like features. So right now it feels like I'm playing Myst. I can walk to where they've told me to go, watch this guy's terrifying eyes, and grab the candle that he's told me to grab, bring it back to the desk. I don't want to think about what this hammer is here for. And they're going to explain to me now that I sit back down. Oh, I could have used the squirrels. Maybe that's how I was supposed to win that boss battle just then. But we have lives in this game, so if I make another mistake, I must sacrifice you. And we go back to the map that we were on. Get to choose another card for our deck now. Choice between 3. You've got the adder again. You've got the elk, which moves after attacking. It's quite expensive. And we've got the raven. So it's a 2/3 flyer. I'm going to go for the raven this time. We can either combine 2 cards into one powerful card, or go to the campfire, which is a one-time upgrade to one of your cards. Come across a small group of survivors, face drunken from starvation, they huddle around a campfire, they look upon your group of creatures and beckoned. Come, warm one of your creatures by the fire, one said. Warm it by the fire, that will enhance its power, said another. You notice one of the survivors wiping drool from their mouth. Well, don't be afraid, it's gonna be safe. I'm gonna grab the sparrow, because that's only a 1 blood. That's gonna be really strong once it's 2 power. One of the survivors reached towards it, another gnashed their teeth. Without a word, you pulled the sparrow away from the fire and left. Then move forward to another combat space. This time we start with a tree. They have a grizzly. Wow, it's a 4/6. So the opponent doesn't play by the rules at all. And we're going to lose if we don't do anything about that. So we'll start by playing our squirrel. We might as well use our bottled squirrel as well. So now I have 2. We can sack them both to play our wolf. Get some damage onto the board. Grizzly's out, and it's gonna make our lives pretty hard. Let's use the squirrel, use the sparrow. So we're dealing 5, he's dealing 4. This might get us the win if they don't play anything more. And we've just tipped the scales. Alright, let's keep going. We can choose between a backpack or a campfire. I might go for the backpack side. It's feeling very Slay the Spire at this point. We've got the elk, the porcupine, and the adder. Now the porcupine deals damage to things that attack it, and it's only 1 blood, and I'm finding that getting creatures onto the board is pretty important in this game. So let's go for that. Oh, here we get to pick some items. Either we get a black goat card, which gives 3 blood, but we need to pay 1 blood to get it, or a fan, to lift one of your creatures into the air to give it flying momentarily. I'm going to get another squirrel. And lastly, we get to the boss fights. So the opponent doesn't play by the rules at all. The trees seem to close around you as the chill mist descended. In the distance, you could clear the clinking of metal on stone. A hobbled figure stood in your path. And the cool thing is the narrator starts putting on these masks and becoming new characters. We are going to get hit by a coyote and a pack mule. I'm going to play squirrel into porcupine in front of that coyote. the pack mule is interesting because it's got a lot of health, but it keeps walking to the side every turn. I'm not entirely sure about how best to deal with it. I don't really know if it makes much difference in this fight. I'm going to play 2 squirrels. Do I want the River Snapper or do I want the... I don't know what that does. When this empty space would be struck, a card bearing the sigil would move to that space to receive the strike instead. Okay, I understand. I will sack 2, play Wolf. Okay, we've got squirrels. We don't have anything. I guess the point of the mule is to block us, right? So we're not going to be able to get into the opponent. Let's play the squirrel into the sparrow. The sparrow is great because it'll fly right over. We're still tipping the scales. Oh, yeah. So they lose one of their candles, and then they break the rules. This is the one thing I haven't been liking about the game so far, is that the opponents do not play by the rules at all. They just turn 3 of our cards into gold nuggets, which means we've lost that aspect of our deck. We can't really do anything about that. We can get a squirrel, but there's not much point because we can't play them into the gold nugget slots, right? And they're not going to be able to clear them anytime soon. We draw a card. Let's draw from our creature pile. That's really useful, actually. So 2 squirrels into Wolf, and we can clear the Bloodhound, which otherwise, when an opposing creature is placed opposite to an empty space, a card bearing the sigil will move to that empty space. Okay, well, it's gone now, so we don't need to worry about that. Let's keep drawing squirrels, keep getting onto the board. Clearing the pack mule, which gives us... Wow. I didn't realize that's what it would do. Okay, so they've given us all of these cards. That's great. Play 2 squirrels into River Snapper, and then another squirrel into Sparrow. I think we win. I think we got this. Oh. Okay, we're close. We're really close. What we have to do is just wait out one more turn. And there we go. So this has been Inscryption. It's been a pretty interesting experience so far. I can definitely see that there's going to be lots of interesting hooks for game design ideas. I'm really curious what this safe is for, and I've seen a number of additional mechanics in the cards as well. I know that a few of them do feel a bit derivative of existing card games, but I'm sure that there's going to be more things to explore. The one thing that I'm really interested in is just this theming. Like, look at this, it's so cool. And the way that they're probably going to combine the elements of the escape room with the card game and the hints that they've got towards narrative, that already makes me really interested. So I believe that card said October 19th. That's when we can expect to play Inscryption. Thank you for joining Harvard Plays, and I'm very excited for this game. Hope you guys are too. See you next time.